Tailor, one half of the duo, the Tailor and the Dressmaker. This is the Tailor and the Dressmaker show. It is live in my studio here in my home. You've seen this backdrop before. This is my humble little abode and my hangout, also known as my place of solitude if projects are going well. Well, I'm just here real quick to run, I guess just give you guys a quick tip for the week. If you follow me, well, let's just back up a little bit. First off, thank you to everyone who actually copped Mr. Jim's Masterfully tailored pants fitting course. That's a mouthful. Try saying that 5 times fast. Anyway, so it has been released. It was most of you pre-ordered last week. It is out there. If you get it now, you'll save $36, which is kind of smart. So go to the link that I'm going to post right at the bottom here. But anyway, it is almost 3 hours long. That is a lot of tutorial, and you'll get to see exactly how a master tailor approaches fitting pants. So it is really a treat. It is phenomenal. Definitely get you a copy. It is a worthy investment, and it will save you so much time, frustration, just really help you hone your skills if that's what you're looking for. So there's that. And before I show you my tip, I also want to include a commercial that Mr. Jim shot for his course. So we'll actually do that right now.
Hey guys, Gentleman Jim McFarland here, Master Tailor. Long awaited course that I have put together for you guys about how, and I do mean how, and I've gone over a lot of things in this course on how you get those standard patterns that you buy and you make them work. Because this is an area where a lot of people need help. Now, this course here is going to cover making the pattern work. How you take the proper measurements. You only need 3 to start with. There's a few more that I'm going to add in, but you really only need 3. Then, what do you guys do wrong? I'm going to show you what a lot of sewers do wrong. I'm going to show you how to adjust the pattern. And when I say adjust the pattern, to make it work. Because guess what? You can use any size pattern if it's close to your size. So I'm going to show you how to make that pattern work for you. Make a good sample. Now, most tailors, we don't make up samples for pants. We take our cloth and we measure the numbers, because in pattern making, it's all about numbers. So we know how to take those numbers and apply them to our pattern right on the material. But these are the results that you guys will get. How do I do that? But I suggest that you make a sample. You make it out of your pattern paper, which we use one type. I'm going to tell you the different types that you can do as you go along. Now, I've been doing this for over 50 years. I make all of my clothes. You guys see me in my vest all the time. But guess what? I make the pants too. And I have a lot of pants that I make. This is what you want to learn how to do. How do we make these patterns work? This is the course you really, really need. Because when you look at it, this is how it works. It works on pants. It also works on the other garments. Same theory, same principle, same part of going about measuring. I'm going to show you on a live model where measurements should be taken. I'm going to show you the height adjustment in things in this course. You're going to see all of it now. Now let me tell you something. There's so much more that I can't tell you right now. But this is a course that you really want. Because this is a course that will save you, the sewer, the time lost. You know, I always tell people all the time, time is what you guys lose when you do these things. And most of it starts from the initial step is the pattern. Now, this course is going to show you that, because if you think back, now all of us just think, let's say, let's think back. Let's think back. Where do I go wrong? It starts from the initial cut of the pattern. That's what's happening. Guess what? I ain't gonna tell you no more. get the course, you will see. So, once again, Gentleman Jim telling you, this is what master tailors do. This is what tailors do. This is how we get almost a 95 or better % of a good product the first time on tailored pants. Stay tuned.
Okay, that was Mr. Jim's commercial course. Hopefully if that doesn't get your blood pumping and get you a little bit excited about what he wants to share, I don't know what else will. So on to that tip I promised you. So if you follow my blog, 10,000 Hours of Sewing, you would have seen that I finished a black, it was a sequins black prom dress with a tulle mermaid skirt, multiple layers. So if you've seen, I'll just include a picture of that right here now. Take a look. So that's the dress I made for my client. She absolutely loved it. She gave me a picture, served as an inspiration. We kind of put our own spin on it. So it really turned out great. And what matters most to me is that she loved it. So in doing that dress, I've worked with tulles and organzas and stuff like that in ages past. But what was interesting was doing an actual tulle mermaid skirt. So in order to get that kind of volume, you have to use, most of you know, a lot of tulle. So that was comprised of, let's see, we had 2 layers of 10 yards of tulle. Then I had a 5-yard layer of a sequin tulle on top of that. And then underneath that, there was also 5 yards of organza. And underneath that, there was 5 yards of a circle, just a circle skirt. That's 2 yards of taffeta. But anyway, that didn't require gathering. So my tip for tonight is how to gather a long or a lot of yardage of tulle without pulling your hair out. So most people know that the traditional method comprised of pretty much using the longest stitch on your machine to create 2 rows that are horizontal to each other, parallel to each other, along the full length of whatever you're going to sew, and then you go back and actually gather those together. So we all know the pros and cons of that. That works very well if you're probably not using a lot of yardage, but in my case I was using 10 yards, and if you multiply that as 20 plus the other 2 yards of 2 layers of 5, so I had 30 yards between organza and tulle, and this is some of the tulle I used. So when you're working with this much, you don't want to put 2 rows of stitching in it, and you don't want to have to pull 2 rows of stitching, because what happens if a row breaks in between? In comes an exceptional tip I received from my draping teacher, who has worked in the costuming industry for over 40-something years. She does theater and ballet, all kinds of costumes. I worked with her in September to do the Kansas City ballet costumes. But the tip is, instead of doing the gathering stitches for your gathering, instead try using cording and doing a zigzag over it onto whatever you're trying to gather. So essentially it looks like this. Let me just show you. So you might be able to see. See those zigzag rows that are on top of the cording? And what that allows you to do is this. And I hope this isn't blurred because I got all in your face. So once it's actually zigzagged on top, you can gather anything you want very easily by just pulling the cording. So this worked like a charm for me. It was so easy to gather that many yards of tulle and organza. It was a cinch. And all I did was just align the edge of my tulle organza, to whatever my seam allowance was. So I always like to do my gathering stitches within the seam allowance, so obviously they don't show on the outside of the garment. So within the 5/8 seam allowance, you pick exactly wherever you want it to be, wherever you feel comfortable. I think this is about 3/8 inches in. And then I set my machine. Every machine is different, so experiment. I always write down so I don't forget the various measurements or stitches that I use, especially if they're used for different uses. So my zigzag stitch for gathering was 5 for the width and 2.5 for the length. So I'll always remember that, and I always put it on the back side of my sewing machine manual. It's a nifty place and I don't forget. I use that stitch length and width to achieve this. And again, look how simple it works, and you can gather anything very fast. And the great thing, the trick is the cording. So this is, I lost the wrapper, but this is the kind of cording that's used when you're doing bead work or jewelry work. I actually got this at Joann's. It was, or I'm sorry, Michael's. So it was nearest to my house. I wasn't near a Joann's, but it worked perfect. And it's really great because you can actually sew on it and it won't leave too much bulk, which is what I was concerned about, given I had like 5 layers in that bottom mermaid. You know, after a while you're like, is it just going to add too much bulk and I won't be able to sew through all the layers as I'm adding each one at a time. So that's something to consider. Also, one other suggestion is, if you are doing multiple layers of the same lengths, I would actually have sewn all these together, all my layers, if they were even in length, but they weren't. So I had 2 10-yard pieces of tulle, and then I had a 5-yard piece of sparkle tulle, and then a 5-yard piece of just plain organza. So I had to do the 2 yards of 10 together. I overlaid on top. I did a basting row to connect those, and then I zigzag my cording onto my 3/8 line. And the great thing about it is the way my machine is set up is that there's a middle part in the presser foot, or I'm sorry, in the foot sewing feet, so that you can actually see where that cording is going, and that it'll stay straight, which is really great. So, and then with the other 5 yards, I just did those individually and then just added that extra layer of sequence tulle and then the 5 yards of organza, and then just sewed it all together. But it worked like a charm. So that's my tip for you. If you are gathering, even if you're gathering a small amount of tulle or anything that you have to gather, really, I definitely recommend zigzagging as opposed to the two rows of stitching, which is kind of like an old school method, or it's just kind of the standard. Try something like this. And I don't know how many people may be familiar with this or not. I've actually never heard of this kind of technique, so it's kind of neat for me. But again, I did the zigzag in red, so it's contrasting so you can see it on top of the black cording. So neat, nifty trick, right? Okay, just wanted to pass on something. I was pretty excited when I found out. Wanted to pass it on to you guys. That concludes this today's episode. In our usual fashion, God's giving you great gifts, abilities. You're just a wonderful, phenomenal person. Please don't keep that to yourself. Go share that with someone else. This is Victoria Baylor, one half of the Tailor and the Dressmaker, signing out. We will see you guys next week. And don't forget to get Mr. Jim's pants fitting DVD, or his course. All right, take care. Bye.